All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. We are going to talk a little bit about some baits, crossover baits. Now, what's a crossover bait? Crossover bait is a bait that really was made for another intended purpose, right? Maybe it was for bass, maybe it was for pike, maybe it was for muskie, whatever. But the bait is actually crossed over in getting strikes with other species, and that's what we have today. We have today is a bait that was never intended for snakeheads, okay? If you're in Maryland, Virginia, and then if you're bullseye down in Florida, it was never intended really for snakeheads, but they are freaking snakehead slayers for dragons. It's just the way it is. Whether you're out fishing on the lower Potomac for bass, you end up hooking up with snakeheads a lot with these baits because they mirror the forage that's located in rivers like the Potomac, okay? And in the back tributaries off of the Potomac and off of the upper Chesapeake Bay and everything in the eastern shore area of Maryland that's been basically, overrun, some people would say, with snakehead population. Okay? And so you want them to mirror that forage when you and for these baits, when you're going away from a topwater, okay, necessarily. So you want to do something a little bit different, present something a little bit different for them. And so that's what you're presenting, okay? Obviously, this is a perch pattern, okay, which mirrors that perch that's there. Now, not only do you have that, now we're talking lower Potomac, right? And so what are one of the best fundamental covers for lower Potomac, whether you're talking like jigs or you're talking soft plastics that I pour, and one of the most requested color patterns is black and blue. So you've got that, and you've got that black and blue pattern with the rattle, okay? Now, it's a different rattle, in a sense, okay? Along with the weight in there. Now, you're going to go one of the ones in terms of frog-like, which attracts snakeheads a lot, and one of the most successful ones I've had. Because it just looks like a frog. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's also a good bass for bass, okay? If bass are on the bottom, okay, bottom composition of your body of water, this is a good one, okay? Now, another deviation color on the perch, young, mixed with some of the chartreuse. It's got that little perchy orange color. Also could be craw, really. I mean, I guess they could confuse that with craw as well. And then finally, you've got, which more or less is the crappie, okay? So all of these jigs are set up for that thump, okay? A different noise, all right, that gets the attention, especially of snakehead. They're also set up with a much higher weed guard, okay, which is critical if you're fishing pads, if you're fishing like before them or grass lines outside. I'm not talking about deep in the grass. I'm not talking about deep into, you want to go weedless when it comes to that, okay? Probably soft plastic would probably be your better option. But along the outside edges, low tide, high tide, that kind of thing, if you're in a tidal fishery, that extended guard, okay? And the key, what I've noticed about these baits, okay, and being out on the water, and by the way, you can move and adjust however you want this. And then again, not all, but you also can put the trailer hook. Look at that. Trailer hook right on the back of that. What do you think about that? So it also combines like what a lot of people do with spinner baits, right? So you put that trailer on the back. That also helps. Now, what I've noticed is this trailer, okay, there's a lighter black and blue one with the trailer. This one especially has caught a lot of bass that get hooked up on the trailer. They're not getting hooked up. I don't think they're getting hooked up because of this guard. Maybe 2 trucks posed. You see that? I'm trying to pull this out so you can kind of see how much higher that is than the hook, okay? Snakeheads don't care because the snakehead's just freaking annihilated with its mouth. Remember, the snakehead's mouth is a longer, okay, profile. So when they go in, right? So when a bass hits this bait, they can hit it from the side or from behind typically. They're catching that hook. They're not catching the main hook. Snakeheads just hit it. And a lot of times the snakeheads are hooked both. Okay? Because that's how they're just aggressive like that. And so you got totally different like methods that you can present these as well. I have fished them shallow, highly effective shallow. Obviously for more snakeheads that are in 3 feet of water or less. Fished them in moving current, tide as well, tide influence conditions. I fished them around docks. Didn't have as much success during the spawn this year, during that period. But now, yesterday, I got 2 more strikes from bass on these baits because we're coming in that post-spawn period, and bass are transitioning from shallower water to maybe that first structure, that first dock, or a secondary point that they get to, or maybe a channel bank that they get to, opposed to where they were when they spawned, especially the females right now. The males are I'll do another video on post-spawn for everybody. I did a post-spawn bait video. I'll link that here on the top. You can click on that. It's just baits for the post-spawn. Males are still, at least in my area, the males are still guarding the fry from the spawn. Okay? The females I think the females have moved on. For the most part. They've already started to transition and lead the way to searching for their summer haunts. I call them summer vacation homes. That's just what bass do. All bass are different too. I mean, you got to remember that. Some bass aren't going to go. Some bass are never going to leave shallow. What I mean by shallow is 6 feet or less. Aren't ever going to leave that to go to 20, 30, 40 feet water in your lake or your impoundment. Most will. Probably 70, 80% of the bass are going to go. They're going to move out. But probably 20, maybe 25%. We call them resident bass. They're going to stay. And so you can still target those. But the difference with during post-spawn with these baits is because you've got a little depth to them. They can go a lot deeper than some of your other like chatter or some of the other baits, right? Is you can kind of do both. You can explore that deeper water, that 12 to 15 foot water, close enough to where they spawn to try and find those females. Then you can also transition in and fish this shallower too. And it's effective during any transitioning phase because of its ability to get down to where you want it to get. And then you can do some different presentations with it. But these are some of the baits I'm going to have a go at today. Going out for a little bit of snakehead fishing today, just to change things up a little bit. We'll report back and see where we're at. All right, mates.